Hi there, and welcome to Reflections with Rhonda Jones and my co-host Monica Livingston. And of course, we have Kimberly Johnson with us today. I love the braid. I love the show braid. That's what I call it, the show braid. It's pretty.
Oh, okay.
And Ruthie
That's
Wyburn
nerves.
is back with us from a trip that she took that we talked about a couple weeks ago. And actually, her, I can't say replacement, but Kathy is in our audience watching, but she filled in for you the first week and did a great job.
Good.
And so we want to thank Kathy for that. Welcome Ruthie back. And we're going to start off and turn it right on over to Kimberly and let her talk about our first couple of subjects. She had one, we wanted to talk about it last week, but for some reason I didn't throw it to you, and I apologize.
Well, before that, just real briefly, since the 2 weeks ago we talked about the family in Germany, from Germany, who had moved to the United States. Their trial was this past week. Arguments have finished, and they are still deliberating. So we still don't have any idea if this family is going to be deported or allowed to stay in the United States. There's a petition. If you go to, I got the website here, it's hslda.org. That stands for Homeschool Legal Defense Advocates. If you go to their website, they have a petition where you can sign if you believe this family has the right or should be allowed to stay here. There's over 120,000 signatures right now, and everyone helps. And as soon as we know, I'll let y'all know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Give them a little background in case they're just tuning in for the first time today.
Okay, this family came from Germany. In Germany, it is illegal to homeschool. This family chose to homeschool for religious reasons. And this law that prevents homeschooling dates back to Nazi Germany. And the purpose of the law, as stated in the law, was to prevent different mindsets from developing in different subcultures. They wanted all the children to be taught exactly the same thing. Even private schools in Germany teach the same curriculum as the public schools. So this family disagreed apparently with what was being taught. They wanted to homeschool. They had their children forcibly removed from their home and taken to school. They were threatened. They were on the verge of losing their children, and they decided to come and seek asylum in the United States and were granted asylum. Asylum is granted if you are persecuted as a religious group or as a social minority. And they claim the status as a social minority, being a homeschooling family. That was challenged by the Obama administration. Since the law applies equally to everyone regardless of religion, they said that the family didn't have a right to deport because they're not being persecuted. The law applies equally. And they're saying we weren't appealing for a religious reason. We want to homeschool. And so that's what's currently being deliberated. And this family who came to our country legally, were granted asylum, is now facing deportation. And I would imagine as soon as they hit German soil, they would probably lose their children.
My goodness.
So go to that website was hslda.org. You can get more information about the case and sign the petition if you feel like they should be allowed to stay.
All right. Wow, that's and I think you spoke about it last time we talked about this, that it's very monumental, too, for homeschoolers in the United States.
I believe it is.
A lot of times people look at the climate and what people are feeling and thinking, and we make judgments based on other people too, and they get people start thinking, and I mean which is good. It sounds like that's wrong, but obviously you should be able to homeschool your children. I don't care if you live on Mars,
Right. I mean, it's not for everybody, but if you choose to do it and you have a reason for doing it and you can do it effectively, I mean, I don't see what the problem is. And I definitely think that kids need to be able to think outside the box, and it sounds like that's all what it's trying to prevent is from any other mindset except for one being taught. And
This is the first time a family has appealed for asylum based off their belief in homeschoolers, and some of the arguments were, well, this will just open the floodgates of educated Europeans coming into our country.
There could be worse things.
That'd be terrible. No, that's
Oh, wow.
This sets precedent. This is a legal precedent.
Yes, exactly. Well, I will definitely sign that petition today. I'm a big petition signer. I always go to change. Well, I have them sent to me at change.org because I think we all have a voice and we need to use it. Or if you don't use it, sometimes it's taken away from you.
Right.
So I'm pretty keen on that. Okay, our next controversial subject.
Okay, this is. I'm trying to think of the right word. This is a school, not necessarily going in a different direction than forcing you to conform to a certain mindset. This is a school in Mississippi that, in the last month, has forced high school students to go into a room to attend a lecture on how to get saved, listen to a minister tell them how to, well, they say it's coping through Christ is the wording they're using, but they are to listen to someone tell them how Christ died for their sins and they need to be saved. And not only, in my opinion, is this a violation of church and state separation, these students are not given a choice, and the doors were actually barred if they tried to leave. Teachers physically blocked the exits. And some of the students managed to record what was happening on their phones, and now this school is facing a lawsuit.
I imagine so.
Yes.
Imagine being the parent of one of the children and not, I'm assuming they didn't and this is just me assuming, and that can get you in trouble, but I imagine being a parent and not knowing this is going to take place, or just being told there's a rally or something they're going to listen to, but not being told, because I imagine that there's probably a good majority of people that really wouldn't be okay with knowing that their kids are going to be barred in a room and forced to listen to something.
Well, that part, I know y'all are going to think I'm crazy, doesn't sound wrong to me, only because I think if you go to school and you're in a class, you're expected to stay in that classroom. And so that part, it doesn't seem as far off to me as bringing somebody in, trying to teach somebody to get saved, unless it was a class on comparative religions, and, this guy comes in this week, the next week, maybe, but, and I try to put myself in these situations, what would I do? And I'd probably try to leave too. But I would hope, sometimes you would just, in your mind, like, this is a bunch of garbage and whatever, and doodle or whatever. If you're supposed to be in a classroom, you're supposed to be in the classroom. But that's really the minor issue to me. Now, this is a public school, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
It was public school in, looking for the name, Flowood, Mississippi.
Now, did the article say anything about, because I haven't read it, anything about whether the parents were notified and given the option that if you don't want your child to listen to it, to stay home? Because it doesn't sound like if they're going to bar the kids in there, that they would give the parents an option or give the kids an option to be in there or not.
Right. That's true.
It's kind of mandatory, and you had to.
3 mandatory assemblies about finding hope in Christ Jesus.
Wow.
Held by local churches.
Wow. Ruthie, what's your take on this?
Well, I don't think, if I was a parent, I don't think I'd leave my child in that school.
Yeah.
If they're going to force them to listen to something, and it's not a regular school thing that's on the agenda for everybody to attend, like your history, your math, and this type of stuff.
True.
I don't think they should be, I wouldn't allow my children to attend unless they change their policy.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
And let's bring it to as realizing as close as we can. If you found out your grandkids were barred in a room and made to listen to that, or even just listen, just barred in a room at school, that wouldn't bother you?
It would, but a lot of times my feelings are so far off the chart compared to what
I know,
is
mine are too.
But it would. I'd probably have a big problem with that, and I'd probably go to the school. But
I think these same parents would have a conniption fit if their children had been locked in a room and told that the Quran was the way to go and that they needed to become Muslim.
Right.
Yes, I would think so.
or that there is no God. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
if
exactly.
Or atheists
it,
can't.
it's
locked
not
in a
applied
room.
around the board. It's just
Yeah,
it's a
this,
Christian
this
thing.
wasn't a history class or a religious comparative class.
Yeah.
This was something where they were trying to get kids saved, and
My goodness. I don't know how it ever got through, like, the hierarchy of, the superintendent, the principal. I mean, somebody had to see
don't
this come
know.
across their desk or something, and yet they still thought it was a good idea to do this.
Well, we're in the Bible Belt, remember?
yeah, and you do have some pretty extremists.
Yes. Yeah, what about those jokers in Mississippi? They sent that Ricin letter, that one guy they think allegedly sent the
letter to the
letter to the president. And, it's so sad that right away they came up with two people that could have done it. That's sad that two people in the same town could possibly have done something like that. So what does that say about the climate of that town? Oh, that's sad. Okay, I digress. But Kimberly, what would you have done if you had a child in that assembly class?
I would have stopped if I wasn't already homeschooling. I would have probably started, and I would have joined the lawsuit. And they're currently being sued, and
Let me guess. The ACLU is.
it didn't say that. I wouldn't be surprised. It didn't
Let
say
me
that.
guess. I'm just gonna take a stab in the dark. That sounds like I'm against the ACLU, but a lot of times I disagree with them.
Sure.
But sometimes, that what they say, even the blind and the hog can find an acorn. So I think this one they might have something on it. Oh, texts are coming in already.
Uh-oh.
No. So let us know what you think about that. If you had a child in that assembly, how would you have handled it? And if you want to send us some messages or text or emails or whatever, you can always text us at 850-572-7442 or go to info@newcovenantgroup.com or do our Ustream chat and let us know how you're feeling about some of this. Okay, any other discussion on this unbelievable subject? Unbelievable.
Just
Just shaking your head. Was it that they say on Facebook, SMH, shaking my head?
shaking my head.
SMH, SMH, or OMG, or Kimberly, this next subject is really controversial.
Our topic last week reminded me of this. It's a 17-year-old boy who, I'm going to look down in my notes here. He was in need of a blood transfusion. I'll just leave it as that. He had a form of cancer that required chemotherapy. The chemotherapy caused him to need a blood transfusion. He had a 50-50 chance of surviving if he got the blood transfusion. He had only a 20% chance of surviving, 80% chance of dying without the blood transfusion. And being a Jehovah's Witness, he and his parents elected to not receive the transfusion. And he's 17, or he'll be 18 in less than a year.
Maybe.
If he lives, yes. The doctors appealed to the courts. Courts stepped in and said that he has to take the blood transfusions. And the boy is devastated. He said, "You will have to knock me out. If you try to put the needle in me, I'll rip it out." And the judge says, "Look, you're a minor. Your parents are negligent. You have to have this. It's in 10 months when you turn 18. If you choose not to have the transfusions anymore, that's your decision. But for now, if we have to knock you out to do it, you will receive this treatment to save your life."
My goodness.
So the boy feels like it's spiritual rape. He feels like, and he said, "This is what broke my heart." He said, my relationship will never be the same with God. He'll never look at me the same.
Boy.
I think it's very sad that people go through such emotional turmoil believing that they have to do certain things, X, Y, and Z, to please God, their Father, and to be right with Him and to be okay with Him. I remember being Catholic in the period of Lent, 40 days before Easter following Ash Wednesday. You gave up eating meat on Fridays, and you usually gave up something else. And when I was a child and didn't have a lot of the questions that I have now, I just went right along with it and didn't think about it. But later I thought, how is this really doing anything for necessary a relationship with someone who's supposed to love me regardless, unconditional love, you start seeing the conditions when you step away from it and you feel like you can ask questions. And, you know, to feel like you can't do a life-saving measure to, you know, to something to save your own life, because you feel like if you do, it's damaging your relationship with God, I think is just
Right. And like,
crazy.
what is your concept of God then? If,
Yes.
you know, if you think that's going to damage your relationship with God, my goodness, you must really think he's an ogre of sorts. And obviously he would be to me
Yes.
if that were true about him. And
Well, this stems from, I can say this because my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness. This stems from the commandment in the Old Testament that you're not to ingest blood. And I had asked her, well, what, you're taking it in a transfusion, that's not the same as eating it. And she said, well, if you took alcohol in a transfusion, would that be that much different than ingesting it? Was her reasoning.
oh, I think it would be.
Well,
safe to
I
say.
do too. Well, I was too little to say, yeah.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah.
But that is where this stems from, that God commanded you're not to ingest blood. And even they won't even allow the infusion of platelets, which is not whole blood at all.
Exactly. Well, do they have multiple wives and
Not
things
that
like
I'm aware of.
Well, then why not? I mean, if they're going to go with
Exactly.
one thing, why not go the whole gamut? I mean, I can
Right.
understand why somebody wouldn't want multiple wives. I understand that. But, Ruthie?
Well, I don't like stepping on anyone's religious toes
Oh.
because because it's not right. But I don't think I would want my child to not have the chance to live. I think I would go outside the box and allow it. But he's 17 and he's old enough to kind of understand some stuff. So I don't know how it might hurt him just as much mentally having it. But that's something that I couldn't completely answer unless I was in those shoes. And I just know as a mother, I would want anything done possible to save my child if they were sick. That's just me as a mother. Doesn't have anything to do with God or anybody else.
Right.
That's just me as a mother. But of course, the God I know would want me to do everything to save life, to prolong
Absolutely.
life. I don't. So
Yeah, and as a father, you know, he is our father, and if we look at him as our father,
yeah.
you know, why wouldn't he want us to, you know, to do everything we could, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Ruthie, I have to say, you came back from your vacation just loaded for bear. I mean, you have been making some great points and just absolutely.
Well, I learned that I am very, very thankful that I live in this century and not back in the century when we were fighting for our freedom from Britain. So,
Obviously, if you don't know, Ruthie visited like Yorktown and Jamestown and this early settlement type reenactments, and just we'll get to that in a second. Amazing, but you know, this topic brings up so many different challenges because you think, you know, does a parent have the right to make decisions based on their belief systems for their children? And then is the government really overshadowing too much? And I think you and I spoke, Kimberly, about if it were a 5-year-old
I was
child.
kind of on the fence about
Well,
this because
what's the difference to you, 17 and 5, other than 12 years?
17's got, well, that's exactly the difference. The 17-year-old is beginning to understand more and to reason more and have the ability to think things through. 5-year-old's completely at the mercy of the adults around them. And so I was a little, not too much, but a little on the fence because I feel like his rights are being violated because he is very close to an adult. And if this wasn't a life-saving necessity, then I would say they need to leave him alone. But that's just, you know, it's just his age, and I hurt for him because he believes like that his relationship's been permanently damaged. Of course,
Right.
now he has the time to grow and realize that that's not the case. He's got a 50-50 chance of living long enough to learn differently.
And sometimes I think, you know, and it sounds like from the article he was speaking for himself, but you have to also think, he's had 17 years of what we refer to as indoctrination.
That's true.
Being just beat over the head with, if you do this, you can never do this because it will damage your relationship, and that's the mindset he's coming from. Now, yes, he is old enough to kind of reason, but most churches, Jehovah's Witnesses, Pentecostals, whatever, you name it. I mean, we could sit here and just keep listing. There's certain things that they're taught that they absolutely can't do. Is wrong, and that it will damage your relationship, and that you have to live a certain way in order to please God. And so they're not taught to question that or to think for themselves. So how much reasoning is he doing? He's
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was
So-
thinking. He's unreasonable, actually.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't heard the other side. He hasn't
Right.
had one of us or someone that, says, God loves you regardless, save your life. It's okay,
Right.
And so you just, it's a big sticky situation.
It really
honestly.
is. It really is. And, I think it's horrible for the government to make somebody do something, but I am thankful yet that they are. I mean, I'm just such a contradiction.
Right. Well, I mean,
I don't know.
I think the same thing,
Right.
But,
Well, you had that article about the
yeah.
children from Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
that the Pennsylvania family, that their second child dies after they decide to only pray and not to seek medical, attention for their child. Their 8-month-old son Brandon suffered from diarrhea and breathing problems for at least a week, and then stopped eating. And 4 years ago, they had another son die from bacterial pneumonia. And in the meantime, after the first son died, they were put on probation, and they had to take their children for some basic checkups every now and again. But even though the son wasn't doing well, they still didn't take the child in. And so now a second child has died, and I understand their grieving, and I understand that because of their beliefs, and that they've just felt like it was wrong to seek medical help, that God would take care of them. But these people aren't taught to understand that God also gave these people that are these medical professionals these abilities
Yes, yeah.
and these gifts to study and to learn and to help, and maybe that's the healing he wants you to seek, not sitting there and praying, oh God, oh God, oh God, and keep praying till your son starts eating and is okay. But there may be something that if they don't do something, your child will die, and they've lost 2 children. And
Guess
my
what?
heart
They've
breaks for them.
killed, honestly, they have killed 2 children. Let's be honest.
negligence.
Let's just say. The first one, they were convicted of it. Then on the second one, to be fair, they're still investigating. But,
Yeah, they've been sentenced to 10 years probation with the first one, and now the second one has died.
That's where I believe in, like, forced, even though I said the government shouldn't force people, sterilization. I mean, oh my gosh, guess what? Your prayers didn't save the first one.
And it
What
says,
makes you think-
that they don't think they're a danger to the community, that they're a danger to their own children, obviously.
yeah.
So,
That's,
I don't know about these kids and hooked up with parents that, make poor choices. It's sad. We can all think back with our parents, and if you had good ones or bad ones, I don't know. I mean, I know what all y'all had, but if you're watching, your parents are your parents. That's who you, or the hand that you're dealt, the hand that you're dealt, and not everybody gets good parents. We have some comments, obviously, and I need to read some. And okay, Tally is on the ball. She is saying, which is Michelle, if someone forced their belief on others, it's a form of spiritual rape. The separation of church and state protects us from at least some of the harm and extremism. I think extremism, of course, then that's subjective, I guess, but that's true. Being barred in a room and forced to listen is indoctrination and abuse. It's just wrong, and that's from a theist. That's not the way to bring people to Jesus. It will only lead people further away from Jesus and give believers a bad image.
Agreed.
And polygamy is sick, especially when women are forced into it. And she said, ew.
Agreed again.
Oh, you and Tally are agreeing today.
I know. Miracles never cease them. No, I'm just kidding. Tally and I have kind of had little debate issues on Ustream, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
You know, she's opinionated, and I am too. And, you know,
It makes for a good
I'm
conversation.
glad she watches and tunes
Yeah.
in. And no matter how many times she's locked horns with me or somebody else, I mean, she sticks with us, and she keeps her mind open and keeps thinking and keeps throwing things out there. So we appreciate her comments.
Yeah, she really does. She really does. And I tell you what, she makes some fabulous comments on our YouTube videos. I mean, she can really, and she doesn't mind tangling with any guy out there. I mean, she'll, like you said, she'll dig in there and go for it. But she's pretty cool. So we thank you for watching. Okay. Any comments on forcing children to be, seen by a doctor if parents are negligible? And that's surely the definition of being negligent, I think, not taking them to a doctor if you're sick.
Yeah.
It's such a touchy subject.
Well, if you're intellectually honest, you would stop to think that these doctors have been given the privilege of learning so that they can take care of you and heal you. And I don't think you would want to turn them down if you were intellectually honest with yourself.
Sure.
And, there are a lot of people out there who really just can't afford medical care.
Yes.
And, but there are, your hospitals and stuff, a lot of them are able to treat you, and they'll bill you and they'll bill you and they'll bill you, but if you ain't got it, you just can't pay it. I mean, I'm not advocating going and running up a bunch of bills at the hospital, but at the same time,
If your child's sick,
if your child's sick, you
Yeah.
have to do what you got to do. They're depending on you as their parent to take care of them. And being the mother of 2 kids, I can't imagine, just, not taking care of them and just letting them fend for themselves and just praying and not realizing that, there's obviously people put here that have abilities that I don't have. And I don't know.
Well, I think that's a great point you made. Now, this is speaking about mothers and stuff. I sent y'all an article about the mother that beat the she's
Heroin
on
dealer.
Yeah, she's
Next
on
door neighbor.
trial for beating the her son's heroin dealer, and honestly, and y'all might think less of me. I don't blame her, because he was trying to recover. He was going through, getting off of it, and then the guy, and the guy knew it, and he still did it. And she took a baseball bat and showed him the business end of it. And, the old saying, never mind. But
Well, I mean,
What do
as
you
a
think?
parent, you have to protect your child. I'm not saying that necessarily you should beat somebody with a baseball bat, but I'm not
No,
saying I've
not
never
either.
said I wouldn't do it either. So,
no, I don't. I hope to God I would not do that. I don't think I would, but it may just circle in my mind a couple of times. But I don't think I would be.
I
don't
might
think-
at least threaten him and make him know that if he came on my property or messed with my child again, that he might, and he might see a side of crazy and not know, and that might be okay.
What kind of? Oh,
Yeah.
Ruthie. I mean, the voice of reason.
All right, Ruthie, tell us how bad we are.
tells her rotten.
Well, I don't know about the beating with a baseball bat, but I'm sure I would try to find some way to contain him so that he couldn't do this until he could be arrested for dealing heroin. So, but I
Set
would
him
do what I needed to do to protect my child if he was trying to protect himself. Now, if he wasn't trying to get off of this and to get back and let his body heal so that he could be a healthy person, I might think a little different. But if he's trying, because from what I can understand, that's hard to do, to get off of any kind of an addiction like that. and so you wouldn't want somebody coming in tempting him or forcing him or whatever. You just wouldn't want that. So.
And this just wasn't somebody that was like somebody hanging out in the neighborhood. This was like an next door neighbor. So I mean, this is a constant, thing.
Right.
I mean, the person's right there and has access. Sounds like pretty often.
Kimberly, what would you do?
I wish I knew more about the situation, why she felt she had to go to that extreme. Did she try to get the police involved and was unable to?
See if I can.
Or,
Yeah, Mo, take that for action.
I'd be serious. Even if I had tried to get the police and called and called and called and had been either ignored or, I'd probably be tempted to grab a baseball bat and put a stop to it myself.
Well, he went into the pizza restaurant she managed to sell drugs to her son. So not only were they neighbors, but then he went into the pizza restaurant that she managed to sell drugs, and that's when later that day, she went to his house to confront him.
With a bat?
She says he reached in his car to grab something. The mother hit him in the elbow with the baseball bat twice, according to the media outlet. So it didn't sound like she beat him.
Well, that could be construed
But
as self-defense.
She said she thought he might be reaching for a gun.
I don't have any
And
problem
drug
with that.
dealers, a lot of times do.
Yeah, I would.
Pack heat, as they call it.
Don't have any problem with that at
Or
all.
used to call it.
Of course, she was walking with the baseball bat, so I don't know
Maybe she was going to a ball game.
That's cute. Maybe she was practicing, had batting practice.
And the father of the boy who was the dealer said that the woman she slammed on her brakes, jumped out of her car, and swung for the boy's head instead of his elbow. And he says that this boy didn't deal drugs. So.
Well, I know in Florida we have this stand your ground type of a law, and if you think you're being threatened, you can use force, But I don't know if you think your child's being threatened. I mean, that's deadly, this type of a drug. And so I don't know. They said they had a hard time finding a jury to actually want to sit for the trial because everybody was like, yeah, I understand. I understand. So we just don't need to be so violent in this country. We don't. I don't need to think like I want to hit somebody with a bat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know what? Our son Matt, when he was in, I forget what grade, he was running for student council president, and he made up posters. He had a slogan. He said, if you don't vote for Matt, I'm going to hit you with the bat. And he actually won. So it just came in my mind. Actually, yeah. If you don't vote for Matt, I'm going to hit you with the bat. Wow.
Well, we had an instance today
Do tell.
that happened, and the ladies here all know about it, but we're going to talk about it for our viewers. But we had, first thing this morning, a lady that's come here for years. She has brought all of her nephews and grandchildren and loved ones here 10-plus years now, and we've watched these kids grow up. They've been with us and, participated in everything. And they were approached by a neighborhood church that's right down the road sometime this week and asked to come and join their assembly for a service this week. And they said no. So then they went a step further and do what all good churches do and, lure them in, we'll offer a bike or, come, it's Pack the Pew Sunday, you may win this, or we're going to have ice cream social or whatever. We've all that participated in church been there and done that. Raise your hand, right? So anyways, it was $2 a kid. Come on, $2 a kid. So, what kid doesn't want money? But these kids talked about it amongst themselves. Sister Lula, the lady from our place here at the New Covenant group, said she kind of stayed out of it. She wanted to see what the kids would do and, wanted them to make a decision. And she said that they talked amongst themselves and they said, we told her no because we like where we go. And so they said no. And then I thought that was the end of it. I was like all ready to talk about how, churches use the lure of, things for kids, and they do, be it a sports team or what have you. They get them in so they can give the message, and, a lot of stuff is benign and fun, but then the underlying message of, Christ having to die for your sins in order for him to, and you have to believe that in order to accept it to go to heaven. But anyways, the story gets a little bit more intense. Apparently this morning the kids were outside at a point before service, hanging out, and one of the boys come in and he said, "She's out there." And we thought this was the crazy lady from last week that had come in, or that's what my thought was, that had come in and kind of shown herself on the way out the door. And so I thought, I'll go talk to her. And I was trying to wash my hands, and I asked him, I said, "Was it the lady from last week?" He says, "No, it's a lady about wanting us to go to her church." So I'm trying to wash my hands, and Sister Lula went out the door. Apparently, not only did the lady come here, she had first went to their house. After already being told no early in the week, she went to their house this morning to look for them. And they weren't there, and she came down here. Can y'all say stalker?
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger.
Right.
So we've all decided, and you can write in and tell us if you think this is okay. It's kind of a non-violent way. We're going to get some water balloons and fill them with water. And then when the kids can scream stranger danger and defend themselves with these water balloons.
No,
What you
I'm
think?
not sure.
Just kidding on that. But we did think about that.
Well, you and Dad did, and Joey. I think I was eating my
You
chicken.
laughed.
I laughed. I was eating chicken and
We
laughing.
took that as a
On
vote.
board. Okay. Well, first somebody said super soaker, but that would not be a good example. What did Ruthie?
No, I don't think we have to protect our kids from her necessarily, because they've already made up their mind. They don't want to hear what she has
But
to teach.
it worries me that she's
Right.
not
Aggressive.
taking no for an answer. And it was said both by Sister Lula's family that was still at the house and by the kids out here that the woman was a little off, that she was upset that these kids were not coming. And she wasn't taking no for an answer. She was upset at their house, so she came down here and was upset. So it bothers me that we have someone really close and down the road, and not only are they using manipulation, which, like I said, we've all been in there, so I'm not judging, really.
But you've never done that. You never
no.
went.
Yeah.
I've never stalked nobody like that because they said
you
no.
never stalked a child.
Yeah.
You never stalked
Well,
a child. No, you haven't.
I think if she continues, it should be reported to
Yeah.
authorities. That's what
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the
Oh,
course we're
really?
going to have to take, is that maybe we're going to have to just make it known that, this isn't cool, these kids
No.
have already said no to you.
The adults in charge of the kids have said no. You don't go
Right.
after an adult tells you don't go around my kid and then go try to bribe the kid into your vehicle.
Right.
That's no. That's called the police time.
But yeah.
Well, see, she didn't approach the adults that I know of except for going to the house this
Yeah, but
morning.
you said that they at the house told her no.
Yeah, they told her that they'd already gone, and
Right.
No, Sister Lula did say that she gave the kids the opportunity to think for themselves,
Right.
make a good decision.
well, when they
or a
told her about
decision.
it, when they told her about it, she wasn't ever approached. They approached the kids and asked the kids, and then she said, well, y'all have to decide.
Oh, I
and
gotcha.
So,
Right. I don't know. I'm kind of, I don't want to, call the law, but, because then you this congregation, and it'd be like in the newspapers or something. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of, but I would hate to do that. But what if, and some of these kids are 4 and 5, and what if, they said yes, and some of them are 7, 8. I mean, they just go from 3 all the way up to
right.
13 or whatever. What if 4 of them wanted to go and they jumped in the car? I mean, I think she would have taken them the way the kid said. She would have just
Yeah.
taken them right on without an adult knowing.
Yeah,
You should be able to play outside of a building until it's time for something to start.
And it wasn't like they were out there by themselves. I mean, she had just stepped right back in to make sure everything was okay inside, and she had stepped right back out. I mean, he came through the door. She was heading towards the door, And he said it, and then he sat down, and she went ahead and went out the door. I mean, it happened really quick. I may have made it sound like, oh, I'm washing my hands. It took a few minutes, but, I mean, she was out the door before he even said who it was. She was out the door. I think she knew. Or just was like, okay, I'm going to go see what's going on. So, I agree with you. I mean, it could have just been totally a lot worse than it was. I mean, she could have hauled up, took a bunch of them in the car,
and plus people that go to church, not all of them are above board. I mean, some people might be Lulus or pervs or something. I mean, I'm not saying she was, but just because you go to church doesn't mean you have good intentions with kids in your car.
Right.
We don't know her. We don't, you just have to be so careful.
Right.
But I was flabbergasted that she was so bold, about doing that after no, we don't want to. Well, I'll give you $2 a piece if you come. No, we don't want to. We like to go to Kids' Place at the studio. That's,
Right.
They come and y'all do great things with them in the back. Y'all do science experiments and y'all talk about character and, and so, and then she, and the next day, I think it happened last night, she initially asked them. Then the very next day you go to their house to go get them, and then you follow them where they were. I mean, that is scary.
Yes,
That is scary. Maybe I have to reconsider something. But I think I saw who she was because Sister Lula identified her to me. And when I was coming back from getting the chicken for our lunch today, I went by there and I looked, and I think she was on the porch talking to one of the pastors, and it was like everything in my power just to not stop.
Keep driving.
keep driving. And I'm glad.
I wanted to go down there.
I know. That's why I didn't tell you when I came back that I think I saw her because. And then Tammy even said, "Don't tell Aunt Kaylee either, because she's got a mouth on her sometime." I thought that was cute. She said it so innocent. She said, "Don't tell Aunt Kaylee either. She's got a mouth on her sometime." I thought that was
And of all of us up here, I would think she'd say that about me, not you. But
Yeah.
Well, no, she said.
Where'd she get that idea?
I'll never tell.
It was cute.
or something I don't know.
Oh,
We'll
but
talk about that later.
that's funny.
Off
But
screen.
it was just cute. I said it because it was cute. Because, definitely wouldn't think Kaylee would do that. This one, yes.
Maybe I'm a bad influence on you. Maybe that's it.
No. But
Anyway, sorry.
When I slowed down and I said, "Tammy, do I stop? Do I think that's her? Do I stop?" She said, "No, go." And I said, "Well," I said, I can't tell Monica about this when we get there. I said, because, and she said, "Oh yeah, I know what she'd do." And then, and she said, "And don't tell me." It was funny. Oh, okay. Wow.
See, she can't even talk about what Tammy said I do on air. No,
okay.
I'm really more bark than I am bite, but I can guarantee you that I told Grandma right, or Grandma, because she's my kid's grandma, not my grandma, my mother-in-law. I said, "Let's go." I mean, we'll
she
be there in
did.
2 minutes.
I
I
had
was
to
like,
rub
"Let's
her
go down there."
I was like massaging her, trying to calm her down. I said, "No, come down." And then Kathy, she was even like, "Next Sunday, I'm gonna step up." Women are just.
Yeah,
I'm telling
protect
you,
children's
don't mess with a woman's children. It's not good. It's not good. Even surrogate children, we just get all crazy. Okay, we have a comment from Oteli says, yes, medicine is a gift from God when we're talking about doctors being gifted. And Charlie says, while I agree that the superstitious parents who won't take their kids to the doctor are wrong, on the other end of the spectrum, I also think it's wrong for doctors to deny anyone medical care. Yes. Definitely. I don't know everything about Obamacare, and I know a lot of people oppose it, but it does speak to the need for universal health care. Everyone has a right to live. Absolutely. And there should be abundant resources in place to make sure that right is protected and sustained. Some people are currently denied medical insurance because of their current medical state, which is so sad. I think that's horrible. Oh, yeah. For some, this is a death sentence. That's true. My point is, the government allowing citizens to be denied health care and medical insurance is a bit like parents denying those things to their children. Yes. If the government wants to force parents to take their children to a doctor, then they should take a dose of their own medicine and make sure that everyone gets equal access to medical treatment. Very good. That's a fantastic point. If you're going to well, just what Charlie said. If you're going to force them to have to take the kids to the doctor, then you need to provide health care, because you're doing the same thing to adults. If I can't get health care because, I have diabetes or high blood pressure, or I'm overweight and I can't get health care, then you're denying me my right to live too.
Right.
So, don't be a hypocrite,
Yeah.
government. What you think, Ruthie?
Yeah, I really do. I think it should be available to everyone, because if you need it, the only thing is there's so much fraud that goes on, and it's really hard to keep track, make sure that when you're going to the doctor and this type of stuff, that there's no fraud going on. You have to really look at paper you get and this type of stuff. And if we could cut out more fraud, we wouldn't be such a poor country.
That's a good point. I've got a funny story to share before we close down. We have about 3 or 4 minutes. But when you're talking about fraud, my mom's brother, obviously my uncle, he didn't have health insurance, but I think he got in a car accident and he hurt his back real bad. And, he couldn't get anything done about his back. So his friend, I think his name was Kenneth, he said, I've got a plan. What I'll do is you can go underneath my insurance and have your surgery. And so sure enough, my uncle did that. He went in the hospital under the name of, let's just say it's Kenneth Hagan. Sorry. Just say Kenneth Copeland. No, I mean Kenneth.
Kenneth is good.
Just say Kenneth. But I have to say a last name because part of the story. Let's say Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
Okay. And so my uncle had the surgery, and he's in his room recuperating. A couple of days later, he's standing at the window looking out, and he said, a nurse came in and said, Mr. Walker, and whatever, and she kept saying, Mr. Walker. He said, I didn't turn around. He said, that wasn't my name, but she kept saying, Mr. Walker. He didn't recognize it wasn't his name, so he didn't respond to it. And then finally he said, oh my goodness, that's me. And then he turned around and acted, but isn't that funny? I mean, that takes a lot of guts, and that's pretty sad to do, but he got his back taken care of under some other guy's insurance. Wow. Do you see what kind of breeding and stock I come from? That's why I'm so ornery, to say the least. Okay, crew member is giving me the finger, the one finger, that we have 1 minute left. So do we need any final thoughts? Anybody? Everybody good? We had some
Everybody's good.
controversial subjects today.
Yes, we did.
And we really need to, if you believe in it, like Kimberly said, go to, what's the website again?
Oh, shoosh.
Starts with the H. I know
It's
that.
Homeschool Legal Defense Advocate, so
HSLD.
hsla.org.
Okay. HSLDA.org.
Yeah, Homeschool Legal Defense Advocates.
You can go to that, and if you believe in this cause, sign up, because didn't you say the Obama administration pledges
Obama said that the Obama administration has said that any petition over 100,000 signatures they will respond to. I don't know if he has responded to this or not, and I'm not 100% sure that that's accurate information. So,
Okay, gotcha.
but they do have over 120,000 signatures at this point.
Okay, well, fantastic. All right, ladies, thank you for your comments today, and keep watching. We have, at 8 o'clock Central Standard Daylight Time, whatever, we're going to have Joshua Tongle, and he's this up-and-coming young guy that's just really on fire and excited about the love of God, and he will be at the place tonight from 8 to 10, so tune in. If you've never stayed around to watch the place, I'm sure you have, though, but just watch it tonight. It's going to be awesome. All right, everybody. Give them a big yeehaw. Thank you. Hallelujah.
Yep.
Bye.